The room burst into laughter the moment their names were called. "Let's hear from them," one boy jeered, pointing toward the quiet corner of the classroom. Two siblings, Emma, 12, and Daniel, 14, froze as every eye turned on them. The teacher had announced that the school talent show was coming up, and after a string of confident volunteers boasting about their basketball tricks or TikTok-worthy dance moves, someone shouted the siblings' names. Not because anyone thought they were talented. No, it was because no one had ever seen them raise their hands for anything. Emma clutched the strap of her worn-out backpack, while Daniel stared at the floor. The crowd of classmates snickered, whispering cruel jokes. "They probably can't even sing," one girl muttered loud enough for them to hear. But Emma surprised everyone, even her brother, when she slowly stood. Her voice was soft but steady. "We broken bar, we'll do it," she said. The room went quiet for a moment, then erupted into laughter again. They didn't know it yet, but that moment, that cruel little joke, was about to change everything. The siblings lived with their father, Mark, a construction worker who carried sadness in his eyes like a shadow that never left. Their mother had passed away 2 years earlier after a sudden illness, and life hadn't been the same since. Mark did his best, but every day felt heavier than the last. He worked long hours, leaving Emma and Daniel to take care of themselves. He rarely smiled anymore. The music that once filled their small home, the songs their mother used to sing while cooking, had disappeared. But when no one was around, Emma and Daniel sang quietly to each other. Their mother had taught them simple harmonies when they were younger, and sometimes, late at night, they whispered those songs back into the silence of their rooms. It was their secret, their way of holding onto her. So when Emma said, "We'll do it," she wasn't being reckless. She was tired of hiding. The weeks leading up to the talent show weren't easy. They practiced in hushed voices in the garage so the neighbors wouldn't hear. Daniel struggled with nerves as his voice cracked, and he wanted to back out more than once. Ma, though younger, kept him going. "We don't have to be perfect," she told him one night, clutching her mother's old songbook. "We just have to sing a broken bar like we used to." Together. Still, doubt crept in. At school, whispers followed them. Classmates mocked them, asking if they were going to sing lullabies or crying songs. Daniel, angry and embarrassed, nearly quit. But the night before the talent show, Mark came home early, something he almost never did, and found them rehearsing in the garage. He stopped in the doorway, frozen. For the first time in years, he heard his children's voices blend in harmony. The sound was fragile yet strong, filled with both sorrow and hope. Tears stung his eyes. He hadn't cried since the funeral. But that night, hidden in the shadows, he did. The night of the show arrived. The auditorium buzzed with chatter and laughter. Bright lights cast long shadows on the stage as students showed off their tricks and talents. When it was their turn, Emma and Daniel walked slowly to the microphone. Some kids snickered, others nudged their friends, waiting for a disaster. Emma's hands trembled as she adjusted the mic. She glanced at Daniel, who gave her a small nod. Then she took a deep breath of broken bar and began to sing. The first note silenced the room. Her voice was clear, pure, carrying the weight of every unspoken word she held inside. Daniel joined in on harmony, and the sound grew richer, fuller. The auditorium, moments earlier filled with restless teenagers, was now completely still. Even the teachers leaned forward, wide-eyed. The siblings sang about love and loss, about holding on when everything seems broken. It was a song their mother used to sing, but in their voices, it became something new, a fragile flame that somehow lit every corner of that room. And in the very back row sat their father. He had come, quietly, without telling them. He gripped the edge of his seat as the song wrapped around him like a memory, and then like a promise. The grief he'd carried for so long cracked open. But through the cracks, light seeped in. When the last note faded, there was silence. Not the mocking silence they had once feared, but the kind that comes when people are too moved to speak. Then the applause erupted. Students leapt to their feet, cheering, clapping, whistling. But Emma and Daniel didn't hear any of it. They were looking at their father, who stood in the back with tears streaming down his face, and the first real smile they'd seen from him in years. From that day forward, music returned to their home. Mark began coming home earlier, asking them to sing while he cooked dinner. The laughter that had been buried under grief slowly returned. The family wasn't fixed overnight. Grief doesn't work like that. But the siblings' courage to sing when everyone expected them to fail had healed something deep in their father's heart. And as for school, the teasing stopped. In its place came respect, even admiration. The same classmates who once mocked them now asked when they'd sing again. Emma and Daniel learned something that night, not just that they had talent, but that sometimes the world's cruel jokes can become the stage for your greatest gift. So the next time you feel small, or laughed at, or underestimated, remember Emma and Daniel. Remember that courage isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about opening your heart when everyone expects you to stay silent. Because sometimes as a broken bar, that one act of courage is enough to heal more than just yourself. Diaris's message: even in the face of cruelty and doubt, your voice, your truth, has the power to change lives. Never be afraid to share it.